Chapter 17. Like I said, there should be a different system. There should be some kind of universal arrangement that leaves no room for misunderstanding. It could involve hand signals, perhaps, or small discrete stickers placed on the lapel, color-coded for different messages. Available, not available. Relationship on, relationship off. Sex imminent, sex canceled, sex merely postponed. How else are you supposed to know what's going on? How? By the next morning, I've thought long and hard and have gotten nowhere. Either A, Nathaniel was offended by my references to sex and isn't interested anymore, or B, he's fine, it's all still on, he was just being a man and not saying much, and I should stop obsessing. Or somewhere in between. Or some other option I haven't even considered. Or actually, I think that might cover it. But still, I'm totally confused just thinking about it. I stumble downstairs in my robe at around 9 to find Eddie and Trish in the hall, dressed up very smartly. Eddie is in a blue blazer with shiny gold buttons, and Trish is in a white sub-silk suit with the biggest corsage of fake red roses I've ever seen. She also seems to be having the teeniest problem doing up the buttons of her jacket. At last she edges the last one into its buttonhole and stands back to look at herself in the mirror, panting slightly. Now she looks as though she can't move her arms. "What do you think?" she says to Eddie. "Yes, very nice," he says, frowning at a copy of Roadmap of Britain, 1994. "Is it the A347 or the A367? I think it looks nice with the jacket unbuttoned, I venture. More relaxed." Trish looks as though she suspects me of deliberately sabotaging her appearance. "Yes," she says at last, "maybe you're right." She makes to undo her buttons, but she's so trussed up she can't get her hands near enough. And now Eddie's wandered off into the study. "Shall I offer?" "Yes." Her neck flames red. "If you would be so kind." I move forward and undo the buttons as gently as I can, which is not very given how stiff the fabric is. When I've finished, she takes a small step backward and regards herself again, looking slightly dissatisfied, plucking at her silky shirt thing. "Tell me, Samantha," she says casually, "if you saw me now for the first time, what word would you use to describe me?" Oh, bloody hell. I'm sure this wasn't in my job description. I racked my brains hastily for the most flattering word I can come up with. Elegant, I say at last, nodding as though to add conviction to what I'm saying. I'd say you were elegant. Elegant? Something tells me I got it wrong. I mean, thin, I amend, in sudden realization. How could I have overlooked thin? Thin. She looks at herself a few moments, turning from side to side. Thin. She doesn't sound entirely happy. What's wrong with being thin and elegant, for gosh sakes? Not that she's either, let's be honest. What about... She shakes back her hair, deliberately avoiding my eye. What about... young? For a moment, I'm too flummoxed to answer. Young? Young compared to what? Absolutely, I say at last. That goes without saying. Please don't say how old do you think it... How old would you say I am, Samantha? She's moving her head from side to side, flicking dust off her jacket as though she's not really interested in the answer. But I know her ears are ready and waiting, like two giant microphones ready to pick up the slightest sound. My face is prickling. What am I going to say? I'll say 35. No, don't be ridiculous. She can't be that self-deluded. 40? No, I can't say 40. It's too near the truth. Are you about 37? I hazard at last. Trish turns round, and from her smug expression of pleasure, I reckon I hit the note of flattery about right. I'm actually 39, she says, two spots of color appearing on her cheeks. No, I exclaim, trying not to look at her crow's feet. That's amazing. She is such a liar. She was 46 last February, and if she doesn't want people to know, she shouldn't leave her passport out on her dressing table. Now, she says, clearly cheered up, we'll be out all day at my sister's party. Nathaniel will be coming over to work in the garden, but I expect you know that. Nathaniel? I feel an electric jolt. He's coming here? He called this morning. The sweet peas need stringing or looping or something. She gets out a lip pencil and begins outlining her already lined lips. Right, I didn't realize. I'm trying to stay collected, but tentacles of excitement are creeping through me. So he's working on a Sunday? Oh, he often does. He's very dedicated. She stands back to look at her reflection and starts shading in her lips with yet more lipstick. I heard he took you to his little pub? His little pub. She is so patronizing. Yes, he did. I was so glad about that, really. She takes out a mascara wand. We nearly had to look for another gardener, can you imagine? Although, of course, it was a great shame for him, after all his plans. I must have missed a beat or three. What's she talking about? What was a shame, I say? Nathaniel, his nursery, plant thing. She frowns at her reflection. Organic something or other. He showed us a business proposition. In fact, we even considered backing him. We are a very supportive employer, Samantha. She fixes me with a blue gaze as though daring me to disagree. Of course. All set, Eddie comes out of the study wearing a Panama hat. It's going to be bloody sweltering, you know. Eddie, don't start, snaps Trish, shoving her mascara wand back in the tube. We are going to this party, and that's final. Have you got the present? And what happened? I asked, trying to haul the conversation back on track with Nathaniel's plans. Trish makes a small, regretful M-O-U-E at herself in the mirror. Well, his father passed away very suddenly, and there was all that dreadful business with the pubs, and he changed his mind, never bought the land. She gives herself another dissatisfied look. Should I wear my pink suit? No, Eddie and I say in unison. I glance at Eddie's exasperated face and stifle a laugh. You look lovely, Mrs. Geisher, I say. Really? Somehow, between us, Eddie and I managed to chivvy her away from the mirror, out the front door, and across the gravel to Eddie's Porsche. Eddie's right, it's going to be a boiling day. The sky is already a translucent blue, the sun a dazzling ball. What time will you be back? I ask as they get in. Not until late this evening, says Trish. Eddie, where's the present? Nathaniel, here you are. I look over the top of the car, and there he is, coming down the drive in jeans and an old gray t-shirt, his rucksack over his shoulder, and here I am in my dressing gown with my hair all over the place. And still not sure how things have been left between us, although certain bits of my body are already responding to the sight of him. They don't seem to be in any confusion at all. "Hi," I say as he gets near. "Hi." Nathaniel's eyes crinkle in a friendly way, but he doesn't make any attempt to kiss me or even smile. Instead, he just comes to a halt. There's something about his intent, purposeful gaze that makes me feel a bit wobbly around the legs. "So," I wrench my eyes away, "you're working hard today." "I could do with some help," he says casually, "if you're at a loose end. Mom told me you weren't cooking today." I feel a huge leap of delight, which I attempt to hide with a cough. "Right," I shrug slightly, almost frowning. "Well, maybe." "Great." He nods to the geysers and saunters off toward the garden. Trish has been watching this exchange in increasing dissatisfaction. "You're not very affectionate with each other, are you?" she says. "You know, in my experience..." "Leave them alone, for God's sake," retorts Eddie, starting the engine. "Let's get this bloody thing over with." "Eddie, Geyser," Trish shrills. "This is my sister's party we're talking about. Do you realize?" Eddie revs the engine, drowning out her voice, and with a spattering of gravel, the Porsche disappears out of the drive, leaving me alone in the silent baking sunshine. Right. So, it's just Nathaniel and me, alone, together, until 8 o'clock this evening. That's the basic scenario. A pulse is starting to thud somewhere deep inside me, like a conductor setting the beat, like an introduction. Deliberately nonchalant, I turn on the gravel and start to make my way back toward the house. As I pass the flower bed, I even pause and study a random plant for a moment, holding the green leaves between my fingers. I guess I could wander down and offer a helping hand. It would be polite. I force myself not to rush. I take a shower and get dressed and have breakfast, consisting of half a cup of tea and an apple. Then I go upstairs and put on a little makeup. I've dressed low-key, a t-shirt, a cotton skirt, and flip-flops. As I look in the mirror, I feel almost shivery with anticipation. But other than that, my mind is really blank. I seem to have lost all my thought processes. After the cool house, the garden feels scorching. The air is still and almost shimmery. I keep to the shade, heading down the side path, not knowing where he's working, where I'm heading. And then I see him, in the midst of a row of lavender and lilac-colored flowers, knotting a length of twine. "Hi," I say. "Hi." He looks up and wipes his brow. I'm half expecting him to drop what he's doing, come forward and kiss me, but he doesn't. He just carries on nodding, then cuts the twine off with a knife. "I came to help," I say, after a pause. "What are we doing?" "Tying up the sweet peas." He gestures at the plants, which are growing up what look like cane wigwams. They need support, or otherwise they just flop. He throws me a ball of twine. "Have a go. Just tie them gently." He's not joking. I really am helping with the gardening. Cautiously, I unwind a length of twine and follow what he's doing, cutting with the pair of secateurs he passes to me. The soft leaves and petals tickle me as I work, and fill the air with an amazing sweet scent. Nathaniel comes over to take a look. You could tie a little tighter. His hand brushes briefly against mine as he turns away. Let's see you do the next one. My hand tingles at his touch. Did he mean to do that? Uncertain, I tie up the next plant, knotting tighter than before. Yeah, that's good. Suddenly, Nathaniel's voice is behind me, and I feel his fingers on the back of my neck, tracing around my earlobe. You need to do the whole row. He definitely meant to do that, no question. I turn round, wanting to reciprocate, but he's already on the other side of the row, intent on a sweet pea plant, as though nothing happened. He has a game plan, I suddenly realize. Now I'm really turned on. The pulse is growing stronger inside me as I move from plant to plant. There's silence, except for the rustling of leaves and faint snap of twine as I cut. 3 more plants and I'm at the end of the row. Done, I say without turning around. Great, let's see. He comes over to inspect my knotted twine. I can feel his other hand edging up my thigh, pushing up my skirt. I can't move. I'm transfixed. Then suddenly he breaks away, businesslike again, picking up a pair of drugs. What? I can't even frame a sentence properly. He kisses me briefly, hard on the mouth. Let's move on. Raspberries need picking. The raspberry cages are further down the garden, like rooms of green netting with dry earthy floors and rows of plants. As we enter, there's no sound except that of buzzing insects and the flapping of a trapped sparrow, which Nathaniel shoos away through the netting. We work the first row wordlessly, picking the fruit off the plants. By the end of the row, my mouth is tangy with the taste of them. My hands are scratched and aching from the constant plucking, and I'm sweating all over. The heat seems more intense in this raspberry cage than anywhere else in the garden. We meet at the end of the row. Sweat is pouring down our faces. Hot work, he says. He puts his basket down and strips off his t-shirt. Yes. There's a still beat between us. Then, almost defiantly, I do the same. I'm standing there in my bra, inches from him, my skin pale and milky next to his. Have we done enough? I gesture at the basket, but Nathaniel doesn't even glance down. Not yet. His expression makes me damp and prickly behind my knees. I meet his eyes, and it's like we're playing truth or dare. I couldn't reach those ones. I pointed a high cluster of fruit just out of reach. I'll help. He leans over me, skin against skin, and I feel his mouth at my earlobe as he picks the fruit. My entire body responds. I can't bear this. I need it to stop, and I need it not to stop. But it goes on. We move up and down the rows like 2 performers in a courtly dance, outwardly concentrating on our moves, yet aware only of each other. At the end of every row, he brushes some part of me with his mouth or fingers. One time he feeds me raspberries, and I graze his fingers with my teeth. I want to get at him. I want my hands all over him. But every time he turns away before anything can progress. I'm starting to shiver all over with desire. He unhooked my bra 2 rows ago. I have discarded my knickers. He's unbuckled his belt, and still, we're picking raspberries. The baskets are full and heavy, and my arms are aching, but I'm barely aware of them. All I'm aware of is that my whole body is throbbing, that I can't stand this for much longer. As I reached the end of the last row, I put the basket down and face him, unable to hide how desperate I am. Are we done? My breath is coming in short, hot bursts. I have to have him. He has to realize. We've done pretty well. His gaze drifts toward the other fruit cages. There's still more to do. No, I hear myself saying. No more. I stand there in the heat and the dusty earth, panting and aching, and just as I think I might explode, he comes forward and bends his mouth down to my nipple, and I nearly swoon. And this time he doesn't move away. This time is for real. His hands are moving over my body. My skirt is falling to the ground. His jeans are sliding off. Then I'm shuddering and clutching him and crying out. And the raspberries are forgotten, scattered on the ground, squashed and crushed beneath us. We seem to lie still for hours afterward. I feel numb with euphoria. There are stones and dust embedded in my back and knees and hands and raspberry stains all over my skin. I don't mind. I can't even bring myself to lift a hand and remove the ant that is crawling up my stomach like a tickling dot. My head is on Nathaniel's chest, his heart beating like a deep, comforting clock. The sun is hot on my skin. I have no idea what time it is. I don't care what time it is. I have lost all sense of minutes and hours. At last, Nathaniel shifts his head slightly. He kisses my shoulder, then smiles. You tasted raspberry. That was... I break off, almost too stupefied to frame any sensible words. You know, normally a huge yawn suddenly overcomes me, and I clap my hand over my mouth. I want to go to sleep now, for days. Nathaniel traces lazy circles around my back. 6 minutes isn't sex, I hear him saying, as my eyes crush shut. 6 minutes is a boiled egg. By the time I wake up, the raspberry cages are in partial shade. Nathaniel has moved from underneath me, given me a pillow constructed from my crumpled raspberry-stained skirt, put on his jeans, and brought down some beer from the geyser's fridge. I sit up, my head still groggy, to see him leaning against a tree on the grass. Slacker, I say. The geysers think you're tying up sweet peas. He turns toward me with a flicker of amusement. Sleep well? How long was I asleep? I put my hand to my face and remove a small stone. I feel totally disoriented. Couple of hours. You want some of this? He gestured to the bottle. It's cold. I get to my feet, brush myself down, put on my skirt and bra as a good compromise outfit, and join him. I sink back against the tree trunk, my bare feet in the cool grass. Gosh, I feel so... I lift a hand and let it drop down with a heavy thump. You're not as twitchy as you were, says Nathaniel. You used to jump a mile whenever I spoke to you. No, I didn't. You did, he nods. Like a rabbit. I thought I was a badger. You're a rabbit-badger cross. Very rare breed. He grins at me. For a while, neither of us speaks. I watch a tiny plane high above, leaving a white trail in the sky. Mom says you've changed too. She said she reckons whoever you've run away from, whatever happened, they're losing their grip on you. The question is there in his voice, but I don't respond. I'm thinking of Iris yesterday, letting me take all my frustrations out on her. It's not like she's had it easy herself. Your mom's amazing, I say at last. I put the bottle down and roll onto the grass, staring up at the blue sky. I can smell the earth beneath my head and feel grass stems against my ears and hear a grasshopper chirping nearby. I have changed. I can feel it in myself. I feel stiller. Who would you be, I say, twisting a grass stem round my finger, if you could just run away, become a different person? I'd be me, he says at last. I'm happy as I am. I like living where I live. I like doing what I do. I roll over onto my front and look up at him, squinting in the sunlight. There must be something else you'd like to do. Some dream you've got. He shakes his head, smiling. I'm doing what I want to do. But what about the nursery you were going to set up? I see the surprise on his face. How did you... Trish told me about it this morning. She said you had business plans and everything. What happened? For a moment he's silent, his eyes averted from mine. I can't tell what's going on inside. It was just an idea, he says finally. You gave it up for your mom to run the pubs. Maybe. He reaches for a low-growing branch and starts stripping it of leaves. Everything changed. But do you really want to run the pubs? I edge forward on the grass, trying to intercept his gaze. You said it yourself, you're not a landlord. You're a gardener. It's not a question of want. Nathaniel's voice has a sudden edge of frustration. It's a family business. Someone has to run it. Why you? I persist. Why not your brother? He's different. He does his own thing. You could do your own thing. I have responsibilities. His frown grows heavier. My mom, she'd want you to do whatever you want to do, I insist. I know she would. She'd want you to be happy in your life, not give it up for her. I am happy. It's ridiculous to say, but couldn't you be happier? There's silence in the garden. Nathaniel's shoulders are bent round, as if he wants to shut out what I'm saying. Don't you ever want to ditch your responsibilities? I throw my arms out wide in sudden abandon. Just walk out into the world and see what happens? Is that what you did? He demands, wheeling round. We're not talking about me. We're talking about you. Samantha, he rubs his cheek. I know you don't want to talk about the past, but I want you to tell me one thing, and be truthful. I feel a deep tremor of alarm. What's he going to ask me? I'll try. What is it? Nathaniel looks me directly in the eye and takes a deep breath. Do you have kids? I'm so dumbfounded, I can't speak for a moment. He thinks I have kids? A gurgle of relieved laughter rises through me before I can stop it. No, I don't have kids. What? You think I've left 5 starving little mouths behind? I don't know. He frowns, looking sheepish but defensive. Why not? Because, do I look like I've had 5 kids? I can't help a note of indignation. He starts to laugh too. Maybe not 5. What's that supposed to mean? I'm about to hit him with his shirt when a voice pierces the air. Samantha? It's Trish, coming from the house. They're home. Samantha? Her voice trills again. Are you outside? Oh, fuck. I'm naked except for a skirt and a bra. and covered in dust and raspberry stains. Nathaniel is much the same, except in jeans. "Quick, my clothes!" I hiss, scrabbling to my feet. "Where are they?" says Nathaniel, looking around. "I don't know." I'm trying to control my laughter. "We're going to get the sack." "Samantha?" I can hear the clunk of the conservatory doors being opened. "Shit," I squeak, "she's coming." "It's fine," says Nathaniel, retrieving his t-shirt from the raspberry cage. He pops it over his head and at once looks pretty together. "I'll create a diversion. You sneak up the side, behind the shrubs, go in the kitchen door, run upstairs and get changed, okay?" "Okay," I say breathlessly. "And what's our story?" "Our story is..." He pauses as though thinking. "We didn't shag in the garden or help ourselves to beers from the fridge." "Right," I can't help giggling. "Good plan. Go swiftly, Brown Rabbit." He kisses me, and I dart across the lawn to the cover of a huge rhododendron bush. I sneak up the side of the garden, keeping behind the shrubs, trying not to give myself away. My bare feet are cool on the damp shaded earth. I step on a sharp pebble and wince in total silence. I feel about 10 years old, playing hide and seek, the same mixture of terror and delight pounding in my heart. When I'm only 10 yards from the house, I crouch behind a shrub and wait. After a minute or two, I see Nathaniel firmly leading the geysers down the lawn toward the lily pond. "I think we could have a case of powdery mildew," he's saying. "I thought you should see it for yourselves." I wait until they're well past, then sprint to the conservatory, in through the house and up the stairs. When I'm in my room and the door is safely closed, I collapse on the bed, wanting to laugh at my own relief, at the hilarity, at the silliness of it all. Then I get up and look out the window. I can just see them all down by the pond. Nathaniel is pointing at something with a stick. I hurry into the bathroom, turn on the shower full blast, and stand under it for 30 seconds. I pull on clean underwear, a pair of fresh jeans, and a demure long-sleeve top. I even add fresh lipstick. Then, slipping on a pair of espadrilles, I head downstairs and out into the garden. Nathaniel and the geysers are by now making their way back up to the house. Trish's heels are sinking into the lawn, and both she and Eddie look hot and irritated. "Hi," I say casually as they approach. "There you are," says Nathaniel. "I haven't seen you all afternoon." "I was studying recipes," I say innocently, and turn to Trish with a polite smile. "Did you enjoy the party, Mrs. Geyser?" Too late to see Nathaniel making death-like finger-across-the-throat gestures behind their backs. "Thank you for asking, Samantha." Trish snaps her purse shut and dabs her nose with a tissue. "I'd rather not talk about the party. Thank you." Eddie makes an incensed, spluttering sound. "You won't bloody give up, will you?" "All I said was, it was the way you said it," shrieks Trish. "Sometimes I think your sole purpose in life is to embarrass me." Eddie stalks off toward the house, his Panama hat lopsided on his head. Uh-oh. I raise my eyebrows at Nathaniel, who grins back over Trish's head. "Would you like a nice cup of tea, Mrs. Geyser?" I say soothingly, "or a Bloody Mary?" "Thank you, Samantha," she replies, lifting her chin in a dignified manner. "A Bloody Mary would be very nice." As we walk up to the conservatory, Trish seems to calm down a little. She even mixes her own Bloody Mary instead of bossing me around, as I do it, and makes one each for me and Nathaniel too. "Now," she says, after we've each taken a sip and sat down among the frondy plants, "there was something I needed to tell you, Samantha. We are having a visitor. Oh, right, I say, trying not to smile. Nathaniel is sitting next to me and is edging off my espadrille with his foot under the coffee table. My niece is coming to stay tomorrow for a few weeks. She's coming to get some peace and quiet in the country. She has some work to do, and it's very important she isn't disturbed. So, Mr. Geyser and I offered her a place here. I'd like you to get the spare room ready for her. Very good, I nod dutifully. She'll need a bed made up and a desk. I believe she's bringing a laptop computer with her. Yes, Mrs. Geyser. She's a very bright girl, Melissa. Trish lights up a cigarette with a Tiffany lighter. Extremely high-powered. One of these city girls. Oh, right, I say, trying to stay composed as Nathaniel finally manages to push my espadrille off. What does she do? She's a lawyer, says Trish, and I look up, speechless. A lawyer? A lawyer is coming to stay in this house. Nathaniel is tickling the sole of my foot, but I can only respond with a weak smile. This could be bad. What if I know this lawyer? As Trish mixes herself another Bloody Mary, I'm racking my brains frantically. Melissa. It could be Melissa Davis from Freshwater. It could be Melissa Christie from Clark Forrester. It could be Melissa Taylor, who worked on the Deltaco merger. We spent hours in the same room together. She'd recognize me straight away. So, is she a niece on your side, Mrs. Geyser? I ask casually as Trish sits down. Is she called Geyser too? No, she's called Hurst. Melissa Hurst. Doesn't ring any bells. And where does she work? Please let it be abroad. Oh, she's at some high-powered place in London. Trish gestures vaguely with her glass. Okay, so I don't know her, but if she's at any of the big law firms, she's bound to have heard about me. She's bound to know the Carter Spink lawyer who lost $50 million and ran away. She'll know every humiliating detail of my disgrace. I'm feeling cold all over at the thought of it. All it takes is for her to recognize my name, to put two and two together, and the whole story will come out. I'll be as humiliated here as I was in London. Everyone will know what happened at Carter Spink. Everyone will know my lies. I glance at Nathaniel and feel a spike of dread. I can't let things be spoiled. Not now.